Hi everybody. Tonight I want to talk to you about the workshop model. And you may have heard of this. You might have heard it called a reader's workshop or a writer's workshop or maybe even a math workshop. But a workshop is really just a framework that can be used with any one of those content areas. And it's got some specific components that you have in there. Really there are 3 specific components, and you also can add in a 4th component that a lot of people do now. My name is Diane McKinley, and I've been in education for over 20 years. If you're not familiar with me, I have been a teacher, I've been an instructional coach, I have been an administrator, and I've also worked for the Department of Education. And now I own Encompassing Education here in Indiana, where we provide high quality professional development for educators. We also have a series called Lounge and Learn, where you can learn with us from your very own home. And so tonight I'm going to talk to you a little bit about readers or writers or math workshop, the workshop model. And so those main components with the workshop model have specific time components to them as well, which really helps with pacing. And so we're going to talk through the workshop model a bit so that you can kind of get an idea for what it looks like and how you could utilize it in your classroom. So the very first piece, as I mentioned, there were 4 components if you add the first piece on. So the first piece should take 5 minutes max. And you might call it a warm-up activity, you might call it a bell ringer or morning work. You can call it whatever you want, but it's 5 minutes max. And it's something that you're going to get a pulse on your students on where they are. And so you can give them some type of open-ended activity. You could give them some type of open-ended question or a writing assignment. You're going to give them something that will take them no more than 5 minutes, warm them up, get them going before you start moving into the next piece. And the next piece is really the beginning of the workshop model, and that is called the mini lesson. And keynote here, mini lesson means small. So you're not going to go on and on forever during your mini lesson time. Mini lesson is 10 to 15 minutes max. And your mini lesson is your opportunity to provide direct instruction. So that's the difference between the workshop model and the lecture style. Lecture style, you'd be doing direct instruction almost, if not entirely, throughout your lesson. But a workshop model wants you to really get in there, hone in, pull out a specific skill or strategy that you want kids focusing on that particular day or that particular class period. And so you're going to do that during your mini lesson time. You can use mentor text during this time. You could be doing think alouds. You could be showing them specific problems, but you're really doing some hands-on direct instruction during your mini lesson time. And it should be no more than 15 minutes. During that time, you're also going to make sure that you really focus on not only what they're supposed to be learning, which skill or strategy that they're supposed to be learning, but also you're going to be talking about what they will be doing once they start their independent time, which is the next section. The independent time is about 30 to 40 minutes of your instructional time. And during that independent time, students are going to be able to do things independently in pairs or in groups. Some people call them stations or centers if you're in the younger grades, but in the older grades, they're very often called learning groups or learning centers. And so when you first start that as the teacher, you are going to make sure you're spending a couple minutes just kind of rotating around, making sure everybody is in the spot where they need to be and they have what they need to have. But then this is independent work time for the students, not for the teachers. So that means that instead, that gives you the opportunity to do one of 2 things. The first one is you could be conferring with students. So you might need to have a writing conference with someone. So you might have them during your writing time and you pull a child or a couple children over and you're working through one of the editing phases. Or you might have a small group of students that you're moving on or you're conferring with about work they've been doing independently on their own. The other option is this is the perfect time to pull small groups of students to work on individual skills or needs. And so it might be that while your other students are working independently, you pull a group over that is struggling with a specific skill and you're doing a direct instruction with that small group during that time. But it also might be that you've got a group of students who are really excelling at something and you want to do some direct instruction that will help enrich what they're already doing and help to take them to a deeper level. So during the independent time, it's independent time for groups of students to be working together, but it also is the absolute prime time for you as the teacher to do those one of 2 things, either doing individual conferences, so conferring with students, or to be pulling a small group to work on specific needs of students, whether they are on, below, or above grade level. And so that gives you a great opportunity to do that. And remember, that is about 30 to 40 minutes. The final piece will give you about 5 more minutes to your instructional time. And this is the piece that I so often see educators just skip right over and forget that it's a part of the workshop model. It's a really important part. It's called the closure piece. It's also called your share session. And so whether you call it a share session or a closure piece or whatever you'd like to name it, it is that 5 minutes where you have an opportunity to bring it back together. So you're going to have a student or maybe 2 kind of put closure on the lesson so they can recap what the skill or strategy was that they were working on during their independent time or when they were working with you in a small group. And then you also have the opportunity to share with them what their homework might be or next steps. And so that's it. That's what goes into a workshop model. It's those 3 or 4 if you add on the warm-up. So again, it's a warm-up for 5 minutes. It is your mini lesson for 10 to 15 minutes. It is your independent time where you get to have small groups and conferring for 30 to 40 minutes. And then you have a quick 5-minute share session or closing session right at the very end. If you want to learn about other things like this, you can join us for Lounge and Learn. We'd love to have you. It's high quality professional development right from the comfort of your own home. That's right, learning in your PJs. You can find out all about this by going to our website, www.encompassinged.com. That's INCOMPASSING.ed.com. Click on our tab that says Lounge and Learn and find out what we're offering this January. Have a great night.